Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to this talk devoted to Malaysian cinema. As usual, with the conversations that the Far East Film Festival hosts, these are conversations that are open to the floor. So at some point, whenever you have questions, you're more than welcome to ask them, and you just need to raise your hand, and we will be giving you the opportunity to join the conversation. As a way to start, I would like to introduce our guests of today, and most of the guests that we have today are connected to one of the two Malaysian films that we are presenting in the festival this year. This year, the festival is hosting the world premiere of two films from Malaysia, and I'm really glad to have here the director and the cast of one of the two films that we are introducing to the Udine audiences this year. So I would like to start introducing the director of The Assistant, Adrian TEH.
Hello. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Pablo. Thanks for having us here. It's a pleasure.
And then we have another distinguished guest coming from Malaysia, not connected to The Assistant, but to the other film that we have in the festival, Talbis Iblis, which we will premiere later on in the festival. But she's also the festival director of the Malaysia International Film Festival, Joanne GOH.
Hello, I'm Joanne. Happy to see you.
We have the lead actor of The Assistant, Iedil Juri ALAUDIN.
Hello, ciao. Good morning, everyone. Thank you.
And then two more actors coming from the film. We have Hairul AZREEN.
Hi, good morning. How are you guys?
And Henley HII.
Good morning. Ciao. Yo chiamo Henley. Yeah. And adio. Bye. That's it.
Thank you so much for the effort. Well, as a way to start the conversation, I would like to ask both Adrian and his actors a little bit more about the production of this film. It is interesting for us to know how a film like this, which is obviously a mainstream commercial film, is produced in Malaysia. What kind of resources do you need to activate in order to produce a film like this, and how it is to shoot this kind of film in the context of the Malaysian industry today, especially at a time when we are just recovering or almost out of the pandemic times.
Right. Maybe I should start the ball rolling. So basically, The Assistant is, like you said, is a mainstream commercial action film. The budget of this film for a Malaysian industry is actually quite big. So it's about $6.5 million US, which is about 1.23 euros, I think, 1.23 million euros. So for a Malaysian market, it's a bold move by us, and thankfully to my investors, because when COVID hits in 2020, so everybody thought, I mean, most of the filmmakers around the world, including Malaysia, will be thinking, how can we survive? Right? How can we survive this? How do we get through this pandemic? So most of the filmmakers opts to make cheaper films, like smaller budget things, which is easier to recoup back their investment. But I have another thoughts of it, because I think the pandemic will end anyway, one day, someday, right? So hopefully it's coming to an end soon. So I think when that hits, for Malaysian market speaking, people will, the habits of going to cinema will never die, because cinema going is an experience. It's not just about watching movie. It's a social activity, so you hang out with friends and everything. This culture will never die. So I think when that time comes, we would like to be the first big hit in the market, which is why took me some time, because I'm the producer of the movie as well. So took me to do some convincing to my investors. Have to persuade them to put money into the project. And guess what? We're here in Udine. So I thank you so much to and Sabrina and the team for having us here. I think it's also another milestone for us, because I'm not sure about you all, but for me, this is my first time being in the Europe Film Festival, and hopefully during the premiere later, the audience at Udine will love it. So yeah, that's my part of idea of making this film, and it's actually with me, Hairul, and Henley, three of us. We made another film called Wira in 2019. The Assistant to me is a step up from Wira, because Wira is an out-and-out, and we work with Indonesia. So we have Indonesia choreograph team, and this one also, the assistant also, we do have Indonesian choreograph team coming on board to help us with the choreograph stuff, with the action fighting scenes. And the difference between Wira and the assistant is that the assistant has more twists. Like in terms of story-wise, he has more twists, and then we talk about, I'm not sure if I should spoil it now, because don't spoil it now, okay. So please do watch it on Monday night. Please do watch it. Yeah, we have a bit of twists here and there. So it's a more complicated story, not just an out-and-out action films like Wira. And kudos to all my actors. They put in a lot of effort. They train 3 months for it. Each and every one of them train 3 months for the character, and then they have to work on their stamina, their fitness, and then their body outlook, and then to remember all the choreographs. So maybe I'll let them talk more about that later. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I would like to hear it from the actors in terms of your experience. As Adrian mentioned, you already worked with him pre-pandemic, but how was it to go back to making a film that is intended for theatrical release at this time?
Well, my experience as an actor approaching this project was a bit overwhelming because we were just coming into the first year of pandemic. So most actors, we were out of work. We were trying to find ways to survive. And at a time when we were approached to do the assistant, the challenge was, of course, to do it during a pandemic as an actor. So a lot of things, pre-production was done online. So I was still getting used to the whole idea of having Zoom meetings over Zoom meetings, having casting even over Zoom meetings, and then meeting our fellow actors also online. But then when in the middle of the year, when we started production, there was a bit of a, in terms of the pandemic in Malaysia, it was freer in the sense that we could still meet up, but we still have to take care of like the standard operating procedures. We have to maintain physical distancing. Have to make sure that everyone's tested before and during production. So it was a bit of a challenge. At the same time, we never know that during production whether it will be stopped by the government or not. So there was always a fear of making sure that let's get all the scenes done today. Make sure everyone's back home safe, get tested, come back tomorrow, and make sure that no one's being infected or gets the COVID. But all in all, throughout the whole process of shooting, everyone was fine. We didn't encounter a lot of problems because it was well planned. Kudos to the production team for having a great team and making sure that we are all well treated throughout the production. So it's something that, as an actor, it's great to have in a production to make sure that, of our well-being and making sure that the production runs very well and smooth.
Yeah, for me, actually, we need to prepare ourselves because of a pandemic and everything. But one thing I love about my job because we love to focus what we should do, like training, like the director said. We need to train 3 months, and then my weight from 74 kilo, I'm going down till 63 kg. This is tough for me, but like I said, I love this job. So everything we do, we try our best to make everyone enjoy our movie. So frankly speaking, please come on this coming Monday to watch our movie. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Okay. First of all, I'd like to give out my gratitude and thanks to the director, Joanne, and Fai's Film Festival for having us, because it is my first time to Italy. And
Hey, you need to speak in Italian.
then I need to go. I need to say addio and then I will leave. Because as a person that grows in a small place back in Malaysia, that I think the work that I'm having is truly magical, which I get to know a lot of people like you guys and come here all the way from Malaysia and get to know with all the filmmakers. And throughout the shoot during assistant is quite tough, personally for me, as for the training part where they mentioned just now, because we have our physical trainer, which is Tiban. Yeah, please show yourself. Yeah, he's also an athlete.
For your information, he's our Malaysian national karate champion 7 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we feel more safer, so going anywhere with him. Yeah. Okay. And during the training, it's really tough because I've been in the shooting industry for like 15 years, and I never had one fighting scene which took us 5 days to 1 week. Yeah, to prepare to shoot. So I love it, and of course I hopefully that everyone can stay for our premiere on Monday. Yeah, I'm sure you will love it.
Thank you. I have a question for Joanne as well, which is a twofold question related to the pandemic. Because Joanne, you are the producer of the other film that we will discover later on next week, Talvis Iblis, which is also a world premiere, which is a horror film. It's a different genre, but still a film with a great mainstream appeal. But you're also director of a festival. By the way, I forgot to mention that you were the executive producer of a couple of films that we screen here, which start Iedil, One to Jaga, and Fly by Night. So I wanted to ask you your point of view regarding production at this time in Malaysia after, you know, the long period of the pandemic, the closure of cinemas. They've been reopening cautiously recently, and about the organization of a festival in this difficult time. So you have 2 questions related to how we are coming out of the pandemic in Malaysia. Thank you.
We are back. We are back. Everything from hybrid back to physical this year. And in terms of, I'm a producer as well, and I produced a couple of movies and came to Udine before, like One to Jaga, as you mentioned, and Fly by Night. And this year, I'm so proud of it to have 2 Malaysian films in Udine in competition this year. So that's why director Adrian TEH is here today. And Malaysia is actually open right now. The immigrations, we are freely enter Malaysia. And we already started the production shoot. Malaysia's everything is open. And this year, Malaysia International Film Festival will be back to physical. It will be held on July. And we are actually started to inviting film international submissions. And for the international audience, they might be coming to Malaysia as well for this year. Okay, because yeah, that's why I'm actually pretty happy that, you know, this year collaborations with Far East Film Festival with Sabrina, and we actually for the local filmmaker and local production teams, which is I'm so proud of it that, you know, we could like bring more local Malaysian films to international. That's why this year our subject to talk about is from east to west. So that's why, yeah, stay tuned for the coming screening, our 2 Malaysians movie in Udine. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Adrian, I would like to go back to the issue of bringing the film to the audiences, because as we mentioned, the film is actually having its world premiere here. So Udine will be the first time that this film meets with an audience. It will be released later on in Malaysia. Can you tell us something about how you're planning the release? Because as I was mentioning earlier, the last few months, cinemas have been back. The cinemas open again in Malaysia, but if I'm not wrong, the results at the box office haven't been as great as they used to be. Malaysia was a very expanding market before the pandemic in terms of the growth of the structures. I mean, there were more and more cinemas opening, more and more theaters in the country, and the box office was expanding both for international and local productions. And there was even, let's say, a bubble of local production in terms of the number of films being produced. But everything bursted with the pandemic. The number of films produced or rather, the number of films released in the theaters drastically decreased, and the box office results have been a little bit disappointing. So how are you looking at the perspective of releasing this ambitious and expensive film in Malaysian theaters in the coming weeks?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Thank you, Pablo. So, if you have it, actually you have it right. Malaysian box office, local Malaysian films box office is on the rise. It was on the rise. So we hit its peak on 2000. We saw a huge surge in the box office collection in 2018. I think in 2018 is the first time in the history of Malaysia that local films, the collection of local films box office surged more than 100 million ringgit. That was for the first time. And then 2019 we even peaked that. So 2019 was actually the peak. Then 2020 everybody knows, right? Pandemic hits and then everything burst. And like you rightly mentioned also, the cinema, we've been opening up since I think December last year. So Spider-Man did very well in Malaysia. It collected like 65 million ringgit. Yeah, the biggest since 2020. And also for The Assistant, we were slated to release initially on 10th of March, which is about a month ago, and then 1 week after Batman. So but then we pulled out last minute because at the beginning of March, we saw like a rise of the COVID new cases, daily new cases. So after discussion with my distributor, Sony Pictures is my distributor for this movie. So after we had a discussion, then we thought it's a better that we cannot lose, per se. So because unlike any other Hollywood major titles, if they don't do well in one country, they have the world, right? Some countries might do well, but The Assistant is a film made by Malaysians, meant for Malaysians, and Malaysian is our only market. So we need to be very, very sure. Like, it's a battle that we cannot lose. So putting into consideration the rise of COVID, so me and my distributor, so we have decided, better to pull it from the date and then to release it 2 months later, which is on the 19th of May. On the 19th of May, we will be releasing concurrently in Malaysia and Singapore. Yeah. So, and then of course, again, I think Udine just comes in at the perfect timing for us because, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, an honor to be here. And then, with us being here, we are trying to bring the news back to home, like bring the news back to Malaysia, telling people that hey, Malaysian films, we are in Udine, Italy, and then we're having a world premiere here. It's something remarkable for me. It's a milestone for me as a filmmaker because I have films premiere at Asia, like different countries in Asia, but then first time in Europe. So it's like, I feel very proud. Thank you. And then, thank you, Sabrina. So, yeah, and then also this film has been selected for Switzerland as well, and FEFF in July. So I think it's a happy and so far good attempts by all of us. And then, yeah, so we will be we'll be releasing in Malaysia on the 19th of May, and Singapore. So we are doing our best, try to, if we can have a positive feedback, positive response from the Italian audience, I think it's the best result that we can hope for. I mean, I don't dream of winning anything here, honestly speaking, but then at least, I hope the audience will love it. The audience will appreciate it for the least. That, as a filmmaker, that is the greatest pleasure of making this film. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, let's hope that Udine provides this kind of push that will help the film
Yes.
soar in the Malaysian box office.
Thank you.
I would like to ask a question to Iedil because we mentioned the fact that he was also in those two films that Joanne produced, and those were definitely very different from. I mean, if audiences here in the audience remember these films that played here in Udine, were very different because they were smaller, independent productions. So, can you tell us a little bit of how it is different for you to play in those kind of more arty kind of films than this more, audience-oriented action film?
Well, as an actor, I approach every project or every work the same. I go through the same discipline. It's how I've been brought up as an actor in Malaysia. But of course, having an idea or in the back of my mind that this film is an arty, as you mentioned, film or commercial film, really helps me to prepare for the role. With the previous films that has been premiered here in Udine with Want to Jaga and Fly By Night, definitely there was an independent spirit to it. Of course, we intend to make an art house film that is accepted by everyone and hopefully will have commercial success. That's always in the back of every independent creative producer or everyone's involved, the creatives. But with The Assistant, of course, that it has a proper backing And once you have proper backing, and if it's under a good guidance from the director and production team, everything's going to turn out well, fine, and we're all taken care of. Again, it goes back to the discipline of the production team as well. We have to make sure that it's a great product at the end of the day. Even with other films that I did in the past, our aim is always to tell a story. So it doesn't matter whether it's a small budget film or a big budget film. As long as we manage to tell the story well, and we're prepared for it, I guess we've done our job. And it's amazing to be in the presence of great creatives, my peers, directors and all that for the assistant. It's the first time I'm working with Adrian as well. So I've always been been wanting to find out how is it working with Adrian. And it turns out that I had a really great time working with Adrian. He knows what he wants. He's got a great vision as a director, and as a producer, he's very, on the ball all the time. So it's something that I learned along the way, because sometimes when you work in an art house film, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect. The next day you'll be shooting, and then in the afternoon you'll be at home because the DOP decides not to come, or the PA person is just not around. So, of course, to have the best of both worlds is great as an actor, and I appreciate being in this production. Yep, and it's great to be here. Even this is my first time in Udine. I know my films have been premiered here, but it's great to be physically here in Udine. So thank you very much.
Adrian, I would like to ask you a question about the multiple identities of Malaysia, which is something that we see in this film as well, because you're a Chinese-Malaysian filmmaker, and you have actually founded the Chinese-Malaysian Films Association?
Chinese Film Association of Malaysia.
Yeah, and this film is a Malay lingo film. Your previous films were also Malay lingo films, and you have a cast that has Malay actors and a Chinese actor. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how things work within this kind of diverse reality of Malaysia.
Yeah, I think being a Malaysian, the perk of being Malaysian is that we are multilingual speaking person. We can speak a lot of languages. We've been brought up that way. The environment taught us that way, that we need to speak a lot of languages even when we were a kid. And yeah, to brand Malaysian film, is one of the essential things that we filmmakers should be thinking. And then we should for me personally, I think we should be capitalizing on our multiracial society in Malaysia. It's very difficult to have, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we are one of the most richest country in terms of culture-wise in Malaysia. So we have 3 major different races living under the same hood, prosperously and then peacefully, and then we don't have war, we don't have conflict, we don't have big conflicts. So we learn to accept each other's existence, each other's differences since we were very young. And then there's no problem for us at all for doing that. And like I said, to mark Malaysian films, or to make a Malaysian film stand out, to have its own identity, its own uniqueness, I think multilingual, multi-races is definitely one of it. As you can see in my movie, we speak in the assistance. We not only that we have Malay, we do have English, and then we have Tamil, we have the Indian, and then we have even some local dialects. I think this is one of the uniqueness in Malaysian film that you cannot find elsewhere, and it's something that I think we should be proud of. And then when people watch a film, of course, Malaysian filming industry is still at a very young stage per se compared to the rest of the world, but we are developing. We aim to be there someday, like a Korean film, Japanese film, Hong Kong films, the status that they have internationally. And yeah, so it's important for us to find our own stand, despite the genre, the spirit of the movie, the identity of the movie. We must know who we are. There's no point of me making an international film speaking in English only. That doesn't represent us. Like in Malaysia, we do have English-speaking people, we do have Malay-speaking people. Like they only speak English or they only speak Malay. But somehow or other, being in Malaysia long enough, you will know some other languages for sure. Like a different, Malay knows some Chinese, Chinese knows some Malay. Even though you don't speak, it's very hard to find Malaysian that don't speak other languages in Malaysia. But I'm just giving an extreme example. Even you don't never speak, but you must have heard of something even those greeting words, right? So these are the things that I think make Malaysian film unique. And yeah, I think not only us, I think the rest of the filmmakers in Malaysia are doing the same. So when we introduce to the world that, hey, Malaysian film, despite the genre, despite it be action, comedy, horror, but the element is there. It's multi-language and then multi-races. Yep.
Anybody else wants to comment on this aspect?
I guess it's very important, like what Adrian said, to identify what is really a Malaysian film. To be honest, I mean, this coming from my personal opinion, the Malaysian film will always have this multiple identity, which you cannot find anywhere else. And it's in line with the assistant, which is actually talking about, multiple identity, which is the theme that we're carrying. So in a way, it is representing Malaysia with having actors from different backgrounds, different races. It's something that we really need to champion in the world, because I think we are probably in the region of Southeast Asia, we are the ones that are having this 3 major races that are being featured on screen, and having different languages. Even like when I speak to my friends who are in Indonesia or in Thailand, they find it's something very weird, because we are speaking 4 different languages in a film. Well,
in one sentence, you might have 4 different languages in it.
Yeah.
Like if I talk to Iedil, we can have like 4 different languages mixed in one line.
Yeah.
And you need 3 subtitles.
You need 3 subtitles. So that having 3 subtitles is also unique. So
But we have one hashtag.
What is that?
Satu Malaysia.
Satu Malaysia. Satu Malaysia. So that's basically.
And it's happened that one movie, they came up with Mandarin, Cantonese, and Malay. Yeah, it's happened to that too.
We're used to that. We're used to that. Like, we don't need translator, because it's something that we all understand, like immediately, instantly. So I guess that's the perk of being Malaysians.
It's a challenge definitely for the translators when we go international.
Good luck to the translators trying to translate Malaysian languages.
I think Paolo will understand more about Malaysia. I think,
I can't go to Cantonese. Sorry.
but you can speak Mandarin a little bit, right?
Iedil. Iedil. Anyway, sorry, this went a little bit far. I wanted to go back to the fact that you mentioned that this film is being released in Malaysia by Sony. Am I wrong, or this is a first? Or can you tell us a little bit about your collaboration with Sony, and how did it happen, and how it's unfolding?
I'm not sure if this is the first pictures that Sony Pictures has ever picked up for a Malaysian film, but then it's safe to say that for the past 2 decades, there wasn't any pictures from Malaysia picked up by Sony, that's for sure. But is it the first one? I'm not sure, honestly, because I don't dare to claim such a title. The collaboration with Sony is as an incidental one. Like, well, I know the country manager of Sony Pictures in Malaysia, and then we've been talking, like, we are friends basically. So just out of one fine day, because of lockdown, we got nowhere to go. So being at home, just started texting, hey man, how are you? I've made this film, and then yeah, I know you got Hairul, you got Iedil, yeah, I've read about the news about it, and I was like, you know what? I haven't really gotten any distributor for this movie yet. Would you like to have a look? And then he went like, yeah, why not? So I was like, okay, why not? Then I sent the link to him, and then he said, well, he liked it, so he's going to propose to the Sony US, the HQ at US, because they need permission to release, I guess. So yeah, I waited for a month, and then they came back with the good news. So they said, yeah, we are allowed to distribute this movie, so let's work on it. So that's how it happened. So I guess it's just something bold that I tried, yeah, and then and it bears fruit. So I'm very thankful for that. Yeah.
Did it provide some extra push in terms of promotion? Is it given some special benefit to the film to be released?
Well, as one of the major in the world, their terms with cinema is pretty good. But because Malaysia, we have wajib tayang. We have this compulsory screening scheme provided for Malaysian films only. So for any Malaysian films, if you go through that scheme, we will have a special privilege in terms of the dealing with the cinema, different terms and everything. And with Sony, we don't have to go through that scheme. We can have similar benefits. So because they are one of the majors, they have, if you've dealt with cinema before, you would have known that the sharing part of the cinema it varies depending on the distributors. So Sony is definitely, they have the power to dictate that terms. So I think this is one of the benefits of Sony Pictures.
So you're not going through the scheme. With this film, you're not releasing the film through the scheme.
Well, it's a long story and a pretty complicated one. We went through the scheme, and then went through the scheme, and then by asking Sony to distribute as well. So it's like a double safety for us. Like I said, it's a battle that I personally cannot lose because I'm an investor of the film. Also, I put in my own money. I'm a producer, executive producer, writer, director of the film. So I tried to play the safest way I could. But then, because we had the date for the 10th of March by going through the scheme, the compulsory screening scheme, but then we pulled out. So now, by going on the 19th of May, so it's no longer under that scheme. Yeah.
Maybe I'm sorry. This could be interesting for the audience because we haven't tackled this issue before. But Malaysia is one of the few countries that still have a scheme that protects national films. Meaning that local films are granted a window of release where theaters are supposed to keep the films in the theaters. Maybe Adrian and Joanne, can you explain a little bit more about this system which is specifically protecting local releases?
Actually, the system came out with Wajib Tayang, and each individual Malaysian film are able, you have to apply for it. We go through all the process, and they will have a minimum guarantee of hall. It's about 110. No, it depends on minimum. I think it's 40 screen, right? Yeah, you have to go through the process for the applications. I think which is good. Any of Malaysian movie, because we only have, I think, the top biggest 3 cinema like TGV, GSC, and even
No more MBO now.
Yeah, sorry.
No more MBO now.
No more MBO. Yeah. They're one closed already. So that's why, because normally, based on their selections of film, they will prefer all international selections like Hollywood movie. So basically, that Malaysian films are quite difficult to getting more nice locations, a number of hall. So with Wajib Tayang, Malaysia institutions to support local Malaysian film, which is quite good for the investor and as well as for the producers and for the filmmakers. It's kind of like protections to assure that the number of cinema hall will be screening the Malaysian movie. Yeah.
I think to add on that, it's a scheme where provides a platform for new filmmakers, young new filmmakers to showcase their movie. Because most of the time, cinemas they are commercial people. They will look at commercial accessibility of the film. So local films, I mean, it should be the same all around the world. If it's local films, how can we compete with big titles from Hollywood, right? So, but then we need to nurture talents, right? This is one of the effort that I think Malaysian government is doing well by providing this scheme to make sure that the local young new filmmakers has their chance to screen their movie in the cinema. So for at least 2 weeks. But they have this the expectation to be filled. Yeah. So if your film doesn't hit the 15% of occupancy rate per screen, and then the cinema has the right to pull down a title after 4 days. But no matter what, at least your title gets to be in the cinema for 4 days. Yeah, that's the current scheme of it. And then spoken about Chinese Film Association of Malaysia, one of the reasons why I founded it in 2012, I think, 2011, sorry, was because back then, Chinese language film was not considered as a national film. So we were not being categorized under national films, hence we cannot most important thing of it is that we cannot receive the tax rebate. Malaysia government imposed 25% of entertainment tax. 25% of entertainment tax for the movie tickets. So back then I produced, my first movie was a Chinese language film, so we were not being classified under national films. So we cannot get back the tax rebate, which is about close to 1 million ringgit. So I was the producer of the film, so me and the director, we fought for it, and then we brought our case up to a lot of ministers. I met a lot of people, and then we even did a memorandum, asking all the relevant players to sign, and then eventually I passed it to the minister, and then the minister helped us to table it in the cabinet, and then it took them a year to amend the rules, to amend the rules and regulation to include Chinese, not only Chinese film, but then any non-Malay speaking language film, as long as
language.
Yes, earlier it was based on language Malay. So, I mean, if I can share, previously to be classified under as a Malaysian film or a national film, you must have 70% of Malay spoken in the movie, 70%. And then the story that I made, it was a Chinese kampung. It's like a Chinese small town Chinese family story. So we do speak Malay, but then it will not come up to as much as 80%, 70% of Malay. I would say like probably it was like 80, 90% of Chinese, 10% of Malay, that kind of ratio. So yeah, I mean, it took us it took us a while to get it done. So the cabinet reviewed my memorandum and then approved it after a year. So since 2012, I think, after 2012, so all other non-Malay language speaking movie can be classified under as national films, that's one of the reasons why I founded CFM, because of all the ministers I met, all of them, they encouraged me to set up like an umbrella to get everybody in so that we don't voice out as an individual producers. We can voice out under the same organization so that it carries more weight, per se. Yeah.
Thank you. If there are any questions, of course, you're more than welcome to ask them. Just need to raise your hand and, yeah, please. Is there a mic that's moving around? No. Okay, please.
Thank you. Congratulations, first of all, of the milestone that this film has gotten. And I just wanted to ask a question about the collaboration between director Adrian and actor Hairul, because I know that this is the 5th collaboration. So situating this action genre, right, in the region, I see that like there's a rising Southeast Asian action genre penetrating the international and regional market. We have Tony Jaa from Thailand and UI from Indonesia. So I'm wondering, director, do you have a vision in cultivating maybe Hairul as the Malaysian action star? And is there an element of Malaysian identity that you're going for in action genres?
Thank you. Sorry, I haven't got your name.
I'm Jolie.
Joey from?
Singapore.
From Singapore. Oh, hi. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that me and Hairul work for the 5th time, because it's something that the Malaysian local press, they have been stressing on every time. Whatever
This
we
is
do,
common.
it's like a common thing. Like because me and Hairul, we work together. This is actually our 6th title. This is our number 6 title. So, like, we have this like common question every time. But anyway, yeah, you're right. I think it's definitely not me personally as a director, but then I think it's Hairul's ambition to be recognized as, like those people that you mentioned, Tony Jaa, Iedil Uwais, to be one of the action figure representing the country. To me, I've just me personally as a director and filmmaker, I've just only ventured into the action genre since 2018. So before 2018, I'm a rom-com guy, horror story. I never done any action piece before. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying to tell story in the action genre, and there's so much to it that I haven't tried that I look forward to try. And thankfully, all of our action piece so far has been receiving good reviews, good results. So it's something that I tend to keep on doing it. And I don't set milestone myself like, by, I have to be in Udine, I just, I think accreditation or rewards or, credits is a byproduct of sincere work. So I always focus on doing the work the best I could. And then, but whether or not it being recognized or not is something out of me, I cannot control. But it's good to have recognition. But to me, I think to focus on what I do and do it best, that is more important. So I don't set target for myself, like, I have to create another Iedil Uwais, I have to create another Tony Jaa. That's not my goal, yeah.
Actually, when I was young, I loved to watch action movie. I was fascinated with action and stunt. And then I want to be like Jackie Chan. One day, I'm going to be like him because he always do it by his own. So when I was young, I love to watch like action, and then I hope one day I can do this because action can fly. So it's like football, like
Sports.
Yeah, it's like sport. So we don't need to. We just watch about what action you want to do, and then what move, what new skill, what everything, what you want to do. And then I'm so sad because everyone doesn't know about my country, because I'm from Malaysia. But how about my neighbor, my Tony Jha from Thailand, Nico from Indonesia? How about Malaysia? And then I'm so happy. I'd like to say thank you so much for Joanne to bring us here in Udine. Is it correct? Udine? Udine. Okay, Udine. Thank you, Sarmina and team. So thank you, Adrian, because I think my dream is come true. Yeah, and thank you so much, guys, for supporting our.
If I can just add to that question, right? Someone wise once told me, if you can work with the best, why settle for less? So you have the best action film director in Malaysia, and you have the best Malaysian action star in a film. So why settle for less, right?
Anyone can someone fetch Iedil some water? You want some?
Okay.
You want something?
What do you want? You want? Okay, I buy your lunch. Okay.
Yeah, but I think maybe just some brief introduction of Hairul. He has a very impressive career per se. He started off as a stuntman. Bila, how many years ago?
Since 2007.
Yeah, since 2007. Yeah. So while working as a stuntman, stuntman couldn't really earn enough, so he has to work, to paint the road in Malaysia. It's literally he painted road, the road sign and everything on the road, and then he's being captured. And he has all these photos keeping, and then recently he's been showing off that photos. That, my dream come true. I used to work by the road, and then I was a stuntman. But
by the time I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah, but it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's a journey that everybody has to go through, right? And then I think you're doing an amazing job. Like you're literally living the dreams of others of rising up to this stage and being at Udine some more. So yeah, he's amazing, basically he's amazing. Yeah.
Actually, I'm so happy that this year are able to work with Far East Film Fest, and it's a great milestone to our local industry actor. Yeah, being able to go international stage. Really, thank you so much, Sabrina, giving us a chance to participate and able to allow us a Malaysian movie come to Udine to show in Europe, Italy country. So I'm so proud of it that we actually Malaysian. There's a lot of good directors, good story, and as well as a lot of good star, good talent. So that's why we actually would love to be able to show to the international stage. That's why we are here today.
I think there was another question. Yes, please, over here.
Hi. Hello. Once again, I would like to congratulate the film. I'm springing board from her question. Since this is for Miss Joanne GOH, you've mentioned that the film was only you guys have mentioned that the film was only intended for the Malaysian audiences. But now that you with this certain conversation that we're having right now, what do you think is the next step for the Malaysian cinema to penetrate the international market? Anything on top of your head right now that you can springboard Malaysian cinema worldwide?
Maybe I can, yeah. So basically, let's use The Assistant, the movie, for an instant. So when I mentioned it's made for Malaysia, I always, to me, Malaysia and Singapore is one market, right? I mean, we are next to each other. If not Malaysia, we are too small to be considered alone, and it's better to consider two markets as one. So when I mention Malaysia, I often considered Singapore as the same market because we do have quite a big population of Malay speaking residents in Singapore. So if you ask me if a movie screens in Singapore, does it mean that we go international? No, because it's just next to each other. And then and I would like to think most of my films are being able to screen in Malaysia and Singapore, and then some even try to Indonesia, Thailand, and for Malay languages, for my Malay language films, always travel to Singapore, Malaysia for sure, and my Chinese language films always travel to Taiwan, Hong Kong, even China. I've made my films debut in China in 2012, so. It's definitely a challenge, to try to screenboard Malaysian film to other countries. It also depends on the films that you make. Because I'm sorry to say that I'm more like a commercial director. So to me, if I want some other country to pick up my film to screen in their countries, it has to make commercial sense. As simple as that. So by understanding the commercial needs from the other country, that's how I try to make my deal every time. Like straight up example, like if you're only allowing certain countries to exploit your theatrical rights in that country, most often it doesn't work. Because everybody knows that cinema is a huge risk, right? We need to, DCP, marketing, a lot of promotions. You need to pay upfront a lot of money. But if the deals come with, the OTT rights, VOD rights, pay TV rights, on scenery rights, that will make the thing more attractive and more interesting. So this is part of the deal that you just have to craft. You have to craft out the deal to talk to the different countries. And right now, for me personally, because most of my titles will go to the OTT platform like Netflix, Disney, and most of the time they will want to have the worldwide rights for the movie. So that kind of hinders me. That kind of like make it more difficult to speak to different regions or different countries independently, because the most lucrative part of the deal, or the most lucrative part, the most lucrative rights of a film is the OTT rights or the VOD right or the VOD rights, right? So yeah. So but then. The offer that the OTT is giving to the Malaysian films is something too big for us not to look at. So it's either you go rogue by attempting to talk to every country, every regions independently, or you do it the safer way, which is take the one-off deal from the OTT, and then the VOD pay-per-view rights you just sell off one-off to OTT giant like Netflix. Then it leaves you with your limited window or limited exploitation of the rights, which is only the theatrical rights to be discussed with other countries. So I'm not sure if you answer your questions. Yeah? Okay. Joanne.
Answer all the questions. Yeah, we have the same thought. Yep.
Yeah, actually, Adrian, what you just said brings me to a question that I wanted to ask, because you've been working during the pandemic time. Actually, you've been producing a film with Netflix, a romantic comedy called Pasakau, and you produced Hairul's film as a director, Ada Hantu, which was produced by Disney. So can you actually, both of you, tell us something about working with these, global OTT platforms, and how that expanded, if ever, the possibilities of what you could do, and the outreach of a Malaysian film, if ever they were available globally?
I think with the rise of Netflix and other OTT giants platform in Southeast Asia per se, it's a good thing for us. Not only Malaysian, but everybody. Like take for instance Wira, our previous film that we worked with the Indonesian team. Not only Wira, I mean Pascal, we have received so much review worldwide from the international viewers, from YouTube. People tag us here and there, and then I even go off street, people buying me drinks, buying me food. Anyway, but I think the idea is that the world gets to see us through this OTT platform. Like Hairul, he has offered from UK, he has offered from Australia. People watched our movie on Netflix, and then people approached him by wanting to get him in their films. And me also, I've been approached by some producers from the West, because they like my work. And then I think it's a platform for us to shine. Sorry, not for us to shine, a bit too big of a word. For us to be seen. Yeah, for us to be seen. Yeah. And yeah, so for Pasal Kau, we wrapped the production 48 hours before Malaysian lockdown. 48 hours. Yeah, it was a very, very lucky escape for us. Yes. So, and then the Pasal Kau was made, intended for the cinema, in 2020. So we shot it. We completed the movie in March. So 2 days later, Malaysian lockdown started. By thinking, everybody thought it was only a 2-week thing. It turns out to be 4 months, right? I think, yeah, or at least 4 months. So during that 4 months, I was doing the editing, everything at home, and then like I said, I know the person in charge of Netflix from Singapore, and then he knew I was doing it, and then he just came to me and said, "Hey Adrian, you know what? We are exploring an idea. We're trying to make the first Netflix Malaysian original, the first movie. So I know you're doing this, and then I like your story, I like your casting. Would you want to talk further on this?" Then I was like, why not? Because it was a period of uncertainty in the Malaysian cinema, and nobody knew what was going to happen. And then definitely screening it in the cinema was the last option that I would consider. And then they jumped in and then offered me a pretty good deal, so I took it. So that was how the Netflix original happened. And for Disney Plus, same thing. Hairul, it was Hairul's directorial debut. The Ada Hantu is a horror comedy inspired by One Cut of the Dead, the Japanese movie, if you remember. Yeah. So also, it was intended for VOD. Astro First, you know, we have Astro First. It's one of the biggest TV station in Malaysia. It's a pay TV, so it's meant for the VOD on that station. But then while we were doing the post-production, again, the person in charge from Disney Plus contacted me, you know, by telling me that, hey, Adrian, he's a friend of mine. So he just said, you know, Adrian, you know, we are looking to launch Disney Plus in Malaysia in 2021, and then we would like to, you know, see if you're interested to make ALAUDIN 2 as, you know, one of the original from Disney Plus. So yeah, so that's how it happened. I think I was lucky. I was lucky, and I'm sure they are considering this title because Hairul, for your information, Hairul is a very famous actor now in Malaysia. Like, you know, he always thinks himself as Tom Cruise, but I say no. But yeah, but he yes. Yeah. So sorry, Brad Pitt. Sorry, Brad Pitt. He was more like a Brad Pitt guy. Yeah. So anyway, so he's big. He's really big in Malaysia. So I think, you know, the OTT must have been attracted to his reputation and his work. So I think thank you, Hairul. Thank you for acting in my movie. So
he has a big fans in Malaysia.
Yeah.
I think the followers almost 5 million followers.
More than 5 million.
More than 5 million followers.
For Malaysia, we have a population like 30 million. Yeah. Like 1/6 of it follows him. Yeah. Yep.
Anything to say, Hairul?
Okay. Frankly speaking, Adrian forced me to direct that movie. Okay. That's how it happened. And then Adrian told me, okay, bro, you need to direct this. Why? I don't know how to direct. It's okay, I'm here. So there's...
Can you be an action director one day?
I don't think so.
Why not? Why not?
I think
besides acting?
No. Adrian is the best director in Malaysia for me. Yeah, so yeah. Actually, Adrian already said everything, and then, yeah.
So I guess to be in Netflix, and I think we are the only filmmakers right now in Malaysia that you manage to have our titles both in Netflix and Disney as original. Yeah.
Actually, he is a crazy guy because he told me why you want to shoot this the assistant, and then but I think now it's pandemic time, and then Adrian told me, no, bro, it's okay, you trust me, I'm here. Okay. Everyone needs to eat. They need to
consume entertainment.
Consume entertainment. And then he said, one day, cinema is open. You just relax and see. And then it's happening right now. So I think because he loves to play chess, and then he can think 7 steps further. So that's why I said he's a crazy guy.
We ran out of time. We have to... No, there is one... okay, sorry, Sabrina, I misinterpreted the sign. There is time for maybe one last question. Has anybody... Any final question before we wrap? Sabrina, do you have a question yourself?
I think she has...
Oh, there was someone? No, they are not really asking a question. Maybe Sabrina.
I'm just wondering, because we were talking about different kind of languages, different kind of cultures, and I'm wondering, before coming here, what did you think about Italy, and what do you know about Italy in terms of movies or, you know, anything that you expected to find coming here?
Well, to me, the first thing that comes to my mind about Italy is Serie A. The football. I mean, yeah, I like to watch sports, so you kind of have to understand that's my immediate reference to Italy. And then I've been to Italy before, many years ago. I've been to Venice, I've been to Milan. I think it's a beautiful country. Like I watched House of Gucci. Yeah, and then I think Italy, in my first impression, Italy is a very posh country.
Romantic, yeah, posh.
And then wine, pasta, pizza. Yeah. I mean, these are all the general perception about Italy. I'm sorry, I'm being shallow here, but yeah, this is my perception about Italy.
We need to establish a cultural exchange and bring char kway teow to
Italy.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Char kway teow is one of the best food.
Sabrina don't know what's char kway teow. Yeah.
It's a
fried noodle.
It's all about cups. It's cups. You know, but then it's fried noodles. It's noodle, but then we fried it in a Hokkien or Cantonese way. So put in spice, put in shrimps, put in meat, fish cakes and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's Malaysian. it's a food haven for us. To me, we have so many different types of food: Indian food, Chinese food, Malay
But it's
food.
totally different culture, food culture, compare Italy and Malaysia. You will experience it later on in July.
Please come,
What brings you around,
please
yeah.
come to Malaysia, and then let us show our hospitality. Then.
Maybe for the next edition of Far East Festival, you can do like a marketplace where countries that participate can bring their own food here.
Oh,
So-
yeah,
so
like
there
a
could be another element to the festival. Yeah.
Yes,
You
why
still
not?
don't know what you're missing by missing Malaysian food.
Yeah. But of course, for me, coming to Italy, having have a knowledge of like the Italian cinema and all that, where they are very much appreciative about films from overseas coming in. So it was, to me, very exciting. Well, I've been to Italy before, but I've never been to a festival here in Italy, especially the Far East Film Festival, where the focus is definitely on Asian cinema. So it's great to have a European festival that focuses on Asian cinema, because the rise is from Asia. Asia is a big market now. Whether it's a commercial film, whether it's an art house film, there are a lot of stories that are being told there, but needs to be told elsewhere. So having Udine as a platform is basically a global gateway for filmmakers in Asia especially to share our experience, and also to exchange knowledge in terms of like what's great in Europe right now, what's great in North America right now. So it's a great way for us to mix and to identify, you know, what's great, and maybe to create a more collaborative work in the future. So yeah, thanks for having us here.
Yeah, totally agree. That's why this year our collaborations is from east to west. Is totally agree what you said. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We need to wrap
Thank you.
the conversation. And thanks to everyone who stayed and asked questions.
Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, Paolo.